Earlier this week, though, we sat down with former House Speaker Paul Ryan, who was a key figure during the 2013 government shutdown. We started by asking him what's going through Kevin McCarthy's mind right now. We're looking at this budget stalemate right now, essentially. If you were a betting man, as we're looking at this deadline coming up soon, do you have a sense of whether we will eventually reach some kind of deal before?
Yeah, I have a bit of sense of foreboding on this. I mean, first of all, a government shutdown does nobody any good. It's not a good thing to do. You've got a handful of members who are sort of nihilists from the Freedom Caucus who are sort of pining toward a government shutdown. And I just don't see if there's going to be a way around it. I believe at the end of the day, though, that Speaker McCarthy and the majority of Republicans who voted for the budget agreement that he achieved with President Biden, which I thought was a good budget agreement, I think at the end of the day they're going to honor that agreement, but those bills aren't written yet. And so I think they're probably going to have a government shutdown. I hope they don't. My old counterpart, Mitch McConnell, used to always say, there's no lesson gained from a second kick of a mule. Well, we have so many members who are new to Congress that have never been for a government shutdown. They've never been kicked the first time by the mule. So I think there's a lot of people who, not a lot, there's a handful of members who are pushing us toward a government shutdown, and it's a waste of effort and time. It doesn't bode well for the party that does it, but a lot of these members have not yet learned that lesson, unfortunately.
This kind of seemed reminiscent to me of kind of the early 2010s with kind of the budget sequestration, some of the other debt ceiling issues that we ran up against. I'm kind of curious too, obviously you weren't speaker at that point, but kind of from a speaker's perspective, what's going through Speaker McCarthy's head right now?
Well, I navigated these same things. Actually, when I was budget chair, Patty Murray and I did the budget agreements to get past the sequester in the 2014, 2015, 2013 era. And so what happens, look, we have divided government. This is the reality that a lot of members, no, I shouldn't say a lot of members. This is the reality that a few members do not want to acknowledge. You have divided government. The House is Republican, the Senate is Democrat, the President's a Democrat. That means you have to work together to find a compromise to get through these moments. I think Speaker McCarthy did a really good job with President Biden on the debt limit deal, getting a good compromise, reaching budget totals that they're going to spend to, and now executing it. Well, a small minority of Republicans, against the majority of Republicans, didn't like that or are trying to derail that. And regrettably, I think that will lead to a government shutdown. But at the end of the day, I think the Speaker's going to honor that deal. So yes, I know exactly what Kevin's going through. I've been through the same kinds of moments before. They're frustrating, but we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. A government shutdown is not like a debt limit default. It's very different. So as far as its effects on the economy, far different, far less acute than, say, a default. And I do believe that they'll get the government funded at the end of the day. But it's going to be a bumpy road between now and then.
We'll hear more from Speaker Ryan later in the show. But when we come back, a panel of retired justices is looking into whether Republicans can impeach the state's newest Supreme Court justice.